morning, everyone. On the left is a raw diamond just pulled from the mine. On the right is what it looks like after it's cut and polished. This is my job. I cut diamonds. Like the intense pressure that forms a diamond, the FDA and drug companies pack the electronic drug labels full of data that can heal and save lives. And like a raw diamond, that data needs to be cut and polished to achieve its highest value. Pillbox at the National Library of Medicine at the NIH is the diamond cutter. For HHS IGNITE, we built the next generation diamond cutter. The data on a drug label isn't organized in a way that can be easily used in an electronic health record or a smartphone app. The labels aren't a database. You can ask questions like, what's this pill? Is there something in it that my son's allergic to? Pillbox reorganizes that data, enriches it with our own drug information, adds a search engine, and through an NLM partnership with Veterans Affairs and FDA, 5,000 pill images to create the only free drug identification and reference system that can be used by developers to build beneficial products and services. Mark Silverberg was a sophomore business major with no experience in health or medicine. He used Pillbox to create a voice-activated pill ID system. He went on to found the health technology company that created Mappy Health, the Twitter health monitor that won the 2012 Asper Twitter Challenge. Drugs.com, the largest online medication information provider, uses Pillbox's data and images in support of over 3 million pill identification requests per month. And a hospital pharmacist in California used Pillbox to identify medications that arrived at the emergency room with a patient who tried to overdose. The substantial effort required to organize this data into a more usable form is incredible. We spent several months working with CEDAR at FDA just figuring out how to do it. The first time we performed the data process that creates Pillbox, it took us over a month. Even now, 2 computer scientists spend about a week and a half in a process that still requires frequent manual adjustments. With funding provided through IGNITE and matching funds from NLM, we work with a team of data analyst experts to create a set of programs to duplicate our human-intensive data mashup. The process that used to take over a week is down to 30 minutes. That's a 98% reduction in staff time, and now we're able to update this data much more frequently. The second part of our IGNITE project is sharing the knowledge of how to do this super efficient data process by making it open source. The code to create Pillbox and the Pillbox data set is now posted on GitHub, the same place the White House shares the code that runs whitehouse.gov. Developers can now build their own Pillbox and make improvements, and from now on, this is where I'm going to be doing my work. A group making a Facebook emergency room game wrote code to help connect Pillbox's data to smartphones. They posted that code on GitHub. That code has been shared, enhanced, shared, and that cycle has repeated over and over. There's already interest in the developer community for this. We need to connect these threads and make it easier for them to start building. So this website, also created for the IGNITE project, introduces developers to Pillbox, helps them get on board and use our code and data quickly. With this and the code repository I showed earlier, they can build beyond the scope of Pillbox. Someone who wants to create an acetaminophen safety program now has most of the technical foundation already built. Over the next 6 months, we'll be evangelizing these resources, measuring their use, being contributors ourselves, and having conversations with a growing community of developers around this data. But there's one more thing. After the week-and-a-half process, that's now down to 30 minutes, I spend about 3 weeks analyzing and cleaning the data. While developing Pillbox, we discovered errors in what the drug companies say their drugs look like, identical drugs with different data, inconsistencies and technical errors that make this data less useful. I've reported to FDA and industry, corrected errors where I can. The error rate is about 1 in 6 labels. We need to do more. The next step is to automate my process. Building on the experience and success of our IGNITE project, the focus will be on metrics for the errors in the labels, and this will include an automatic feedback system to notify FDA and drug companies when we find errors. We'll have scorecards for the labels and the companies who submit the data, and the code will be open source. The team at drugs.com has already expressed interest in contributing their knowledge to this project. At FDA, teams at CEDAR, Office of the Chief Health Informatics Officer, and Commissioner are already working to improve the quality of drug data. NLM and FDA have long been partners in creating and disseminating drug data. The next stage of this partnership is data quality. Obviously, I need funding for what I'm proposing, but more importantly, I need the support of the Innovation Council, senior leadership at FDA for this plan and the conversations we've already started about these challenges and their solutions. Thank you.
Not sure if I should say ouch, but well, we're working very closely. I mean, this is definitely one thing. I mean, definitely we want to invest in to improve. I mean, and always say put the data out there. I mean, part of open, not just the access or the data, but the community. And the hope is maybe the community can help us improve the quality. If he says 1 in 6, maybe down the road it'll be 1 in 12, and then down the road it'll be 1 in 100, and maybe down the road it'll be none. So that's our approach, and working. I'd love to see this working even closer with Open FDA.
Thanks.
I have a question. How do people identify the drug? So they have a tablet or a capsule and they don't know what it is. How is it that you find it in the database? And also my other question was, do you provide information only on the labeled use or common off-label uses as well?
Oh, thanks for your question. So first, when someone's identifying an unknown drug, the first 3 attributes they'll think about are the text written on the pill, the color, and the shape. What we found in our data is that color and shape are essentially useless. And even researchers that have been at NIH and started companies that do automated pill ID have said color and shape useless because there's just so much variability and it's so inconsistent. Imprint is very important, and that requires a very finessed search engine, which is actually our next step, is opening the code to the search engine to create even smarter search and disseminate that. To your, I'm sorry, I completely forgot your second question.
Do you provide information on just the labeled use, or and is there a way to that common off-label use is also being added to the information?
Okay, great. Yes, we do that. We actually incorporate other data sets from the National Library of Medicine that give you the connectors to go out to almost any drug data set. We also link to other NLM drug resources outside of the label that do meta searches for Medline Plus drugs, PubMed searches, clinical trial searches for those drugs.
So what would be your next immediate thing that you want to work on if I'm to invest in this, right?
Absolutely. I think the next thing really that we want to do first is evangelize what we already have, get to work on building those scripts and programs to do automated identification of the errors, and then really continue the relationships that we've built with not just FDA, but the pharmaceutical industry through the Health Level 7 Labeling Working Group. We've been integrated with them for years, but we really need to get the manufacturers on board as part of the team. I think the scorecard system will definitely be a stick, but we really need the carrot with them, and from my experience, they have substantial problems inside their own business processes participating with us, and I think there's a way that we can help them address those internal processes as well.
I would say over the next 6 months, what would be your criteria for quality?
Next 6-month criteria for quality would be first taking the information that we have and running it against previous data. We have data going back years on the labels. So we'll take these scripts, run them against the old data, and we'll set a baseline for errors, but also how errors have been improving, especially based on the work that's being done at the Office of the Commissioner. And then we'll see that trend, and then we can start to measure reductions in the errors. Also, there is an imaging program at the National Library of Medicine, actually headed by Terry Yu, who's in the audience today. They have thousands of images shot to the standard that the NLM has created, and FDA has said they will expect. And I think we need to aggressively get out with the firms to tell them we have over 2,000 images, but only 100 have been sent by the manufacturers into the labels, and we really need to get aggressive about that.
So polypharmacy is a huge problem for older adults. How can Pillbox address that now, alert people to drug interactions, and how could you encourage developers to look at that particular issue when they look at application development?
That's a great question, and I'm going to say that's one point where we're lacking. Drug-drug interactions is kind of the elephant in the room. There really is no open, authoritative government data set for drug-drug interactions. NLM has something very close, but even those data experts will tell me it's good, but you don't really want to push this out without a lot of warnings. It's a linchpin that we're missing, and I think that's an area also for improved discussion on how can we get a good drug-drug data set to tie all of the wonderful data sets we have between the two agencies.